Why doing a dopamine detox at all? A dopamine detox helps you to live a more happy life because we are so stimulated these days by our phones, by technology, by simply distractions that come in every single time we just do anything. And a dopamine detox just resets your baseline happiness. You can think of it like you have a baseline where your actual emotional happiness is positioned on. And now, if you have a spike in your dopamine, your happiness kind of goes up. But the problem is, the more dopamine comes in and the more your baseline spikes up, the more it falls down afterwards. So it's not like you're raising the bar. It's more like you're raising the bar a little bit and finally it drops down underneath the baseline where it actually used to start. If you do a dopamine detox, it's kind of the other way around because you're not getting dopamine and basically you're bored and your baseline goes down because you have bad emotions. But in the long term, it's more easy for your brain to get activated by dopamine because the bar is lowered. So in the end, you will have a higher dopamine bar because the bar is so low to have something that triggers your happiness. For example, just easy things like brushing your teeth can make you happy if you're, for example, bored because you're on a dopamine detox. You can think of this dopamine baseline like this. So you have this baseline and we have like happiness. So happiness on the y-axis and on the x-axis we have time. Sorry for my not so beautiful drawing. So this is like your emotional baseline right here. And if you get a dopamine spike, your bar raises up a little bit. So after dopamine hits in, which is actually like this arrow, your bar kind of raises for a short amount of time. But after that, when dopamine goes away, your bar actually lowers beneath the baseline and you crave for more dopamine. So you need the next dopamine hit to raise your bar, which is actually not raised as high as it was before because I don't know if you experienced this ever, but if you have a pretty nice experience and suddenly this experience vanished, it will never be as good as the first time you had this experience. So this was your second dopamine hit. And now the bar goes back lower again than it actually was before. And if you do a dopamine detox, it's actually the other way around. So we have our y-axis, again with happiness. And we have our x-axis with time. So our emotional baseline is again right here. And now we get bad emotions because we're on this dopamine detox and we're missing something. So at first our bar goes lower, but then over time we get more adaptive for the easy things in life and they make us more happy. So over time, like automatically, this is the development that happens. So our bar actually raises. So it's becoming like this in standard mode, which is actually just great. I know this sounds like a dopamine detox is completely boring, but actually I'm not a big fan of starting things with a radical change. What I advise you to do is to actually just implement one habit in a week. For example, you want to reduce your screen time. So this is the habit you tackle in the first week. And then in the second week, you might even tackle your screen time more. So, for example, you want to reduce screen time to 30 minutes and you're currently on 2 hours a day. So maybe the first week you start with 15 minutes, then the next week you start with the next 15 minutes and so on. So you accumulate those times and those habits. So finally, after a long time, and you have time, take your time. Finally, after you took your time, you can end with having all the good habits you want to and eliminate all the bad habits you don't want to have. I strongly encourage you to have the following mindset, saying that you want to keep this dopamine detox. You don't want to do it like a crash diet where you do a dopamine detox for 1 week and then you stop everything and you live like you used to live before, because then it's not really changing anything. You want to keep it as a lifestyle. I also made a video about this where I talked about making things a lifestyle, and this is what you should do with dopamine detox as well, because once you got used to not using your phone, to go for a walk without music, why would you ever change it and go back to those bad habits again when now it's more easy for you to do the good habits? And when you think about this, it's important that you're not trying to see your whole life forever thinking, oh, I'm doing the dopamine detox for the rest of my life, so this is going to be 50 years and now my life will be bad. And no, please just think about it like one day after one day. So you're just trying to improve every day and you're not trying to improve the rest of your life with dopamine detox, but you're just doing day after day. And when you have this mindset really implemented into your heart, then it will be so much more easy for you to just keep doing this dopamine detox.